Hello everybody, Mannix here. It is time for a versus video. We got both of the Cold Steel large Espadas going head to head next to each other. On the right we have the G10 version, the more affordable model, and then we have the sweet, sexy version right here on the left. It doesn't really have a specific name, but it does have the S35VN blade steel, as you can see right there, as opposed to the AUS10A blade steel, as you can see that the one on the right has with the full G10 handle scales. Although the one on the left also has G10 on there. It's just kind of confusing the way they named them. There isn't really a specific name. It's just the G10 Espada and the S35VN Espada, I guess. That's what I'll call it. The actual model names, the one on the left is the CS62MB. The one on the right is the CS62MGD. I'm probably not going to remember those, but we have an expensive version and the cheaper option on the right here. Although neither of them are really cheap knives. They're both monsters. I already have reviews on both of these you can check out in the description below. They're both amazing, beautiful, gorgeous XL size folders, although there are even larger versions of both of these. I currently own the XL G10 Espada, not the XL version of this guy right down here, but they're even bigger, so they just call these the large Espadas. They used to sell mediums. They discontinued those many years ago. So really, which one is right for you? Which one's better? Can you not decide? Well, really short version of this video right here. If price is the biggest concern, just get the cheaper one. They're both really good, but as far as tactical use goes and hard use goes, I'm going to say the one on the bottom right here, the cheaper one, the G10 version with the AUS10A, is going to win just because it's more simple, it's more grippy, less likely to slip out of your hand under hard use. However, things get kind of tricky because this one up here has a better blade steel. So although the knife looks like it's not meant for as hard use, because we have a grippy G10 handle scales, I should say, right down here. Then we have polished G10 and aluminum on the more expensive model. This one's not going to be for harder use. It's not going to be as good for tactical use because it's not as grippy. That's really the biggest issue. But it has a way better blade steel. Satin finish on here as opposed to a stonewash finish on the bottom. So it's kind of weird. They're both kind of in tricky spots. Normally I would just say, yeah, this one's going to be better for tactical use because it's more grippy. And you also save a decent amount of money too. But this one's got the better blade steel. You know, it makes the options a little bit trickier. But again, short answer, if you want to save some money, get the one on the bottom. It's great. If you want something really sweet and cool and something that looks like it's more expensive, and it is more expensive, but it looks a lot fancier, then you're going to want this one. And on top of that, as a bonus, you have an S35VN blade steel. Almost a mirror polish on there, by the way. I believe it's a satin finish, but it's almost mirror. It's almost reflecting me in there. So the specs are exactly the same on these two as far as dimensions go, except for the weight. Now on Cold Steel's website, they claim this guy right here, the large G10, is 9.2 ounces, and this guy is 9 ounces. I'm actually not sure. It's interesting. Interesting comparison. I'm not sure which one is heavier than the other one. I can't really tell. But usually specs on websites aren't always that accurate, even official websites. So let's end it right now with my scale right here. So here goes the G10, 9.38 ounces. That's quite different from the 9.2 the website says. Oh, 9.83? They're completely wrong there. 9.83. And then we got 9.38. I can't math right now. I want to say this is like 0.4 ounces heavier. So again, as far as tactical use, as far as backpacking goes, as far as actual use, well, we're seeing another win right here with the cheaper model. It's lighter and it's grippier. Those are the two advantages we have for this one. So more light, more grippy, a little bit heavier, not as grippy. It's a little bit more smooth. It doesn't matter that much just because it's so big and we have some deep and very pronounced finger choils on both of these knives right here. The grip doesn't matter that much. If you got this in your hand, I don't think it's going to like slide out. It's not going to fly out of your hand under even extremely hard use. I don't see that happening. Even in a tactical situation, you know, use a lower grip down here. It's really, really locked in there, regardless of which version you use. Right down here. So it's not really that big of a deal. The grip is not that big of a deal, but it is a bonus. It is something worth mentioning on the larger version. They're both beautiful, by the way. I love them both. But let's look at some aesthetic differences as well. So elephant in the room, yeah, we have a different polish, a different finish on the blade for either of them. AUS10A blade steel on this guy right here has the stonewash finish. Then we're rocking the satin finish, the guy on the top. They both have G10 handle scales, although the expensive version has polished G10. In my review, I think I said they were micarta. I was wrong. They're G10. But they have a 7075 aluminum bolster right here, as well as the very tip, the butt of the handle, as well as the back spacer is aluminum. Let's move on to the cheaper version. We have probably an FRN backspacer, but it could also be an aluminum backspacer. I know for a fact Cold Steel used to use aluminum backspacers on their Recon 1s at least, but I don't know if that information is correct or not. Either way, we have an aluminum or an FRN backspacer right there. And then we have stainless steel liners in here that are jimped up here just for aesthetics, really. It's really cool. They're not fully steel lined. They're just up there in the really tight corner up here. They're about this slim. I don't know why they're in there, but they're there. It just helps the mechanics of the lock bar. Here, they're both triad locks, by the way. No difference in the locking mechanisms there. This one looks like it has a bead blasted finish. This guy up here on the left, satin finish closer to the blade, so we have different finishes on them. It looks like we have aluminum liners in here as well with G10 scales on top of the aluminum liners versus the pure G10 we have, aside from these thin steel liners we have in this section of the spine of the knife. So quite different in overall construction handle materials. They're very, very different actually. They're both tip of carry. We have a blackened pocket clip on the right, satin pocket clip on the left, but here's where things get interesting. No spot to put in a lefty clip for the knife on the left right here. We do have on the right. So again, another win for this guy right here is going to be it's more ambidextrous because you can swap the clip to the other side, or at least use the other clip they give you for the left side. You can't on the expensive version. Oof. If you're a lefty, that might be something you want to consider, perhaps. Retail on both of these, so the one on the left, if I remember, let me look at my notes here. The one on the left, it is $449.99 retail. The one on the right retails at $229.99. So pretty much half the price on this guy right here in the aftermarket. I've seen these as high as close to $300. I've seen these as low as $150 on Amazon, and occasionally they'll come out with these sales on that website. $150. Run and take this knife if you can get it for $150. But that sale only appears once in a while. I don't know if that's ever going to appear again. That's the absolute cheapest I've ever seen this knife was $150. But more commonly, I see it closer to $200. Sometimes $250, sometimes $260, sometimes $270. It's all over the place, but you can expect to pay around $200 for this guy right here. This one on the right, currently the cheapest option I see it online is $139.94 on eBay. Don't know which seller it was in particular, but it was somebody selling it on eBay or a company selling it on eBay. So expect to pay around $140. Let's say $150 for this guy, $200 for this guy, maybe a little more. Let's really even things out. Let's say on average you're probably going to be spending about, let's say $70 more for this guy right here. So the extra $70. As far as materials go, it's not really more expensive. Aluminum and polished G10 I don't think is more expensive than just G10. It's aluminum. Aluminum's not a very expensive material. It's 7075 aluminum, but it's still aluminum, so who really cares? But everything, again, other than that, the big elephant in the room is going to be the S35VN blade steel, which is a miracle steel. It's a beautiful, beautiful blade steel. It's extremely, extremely good. Really high edge retention capability. Very good rust resistance. It's an amazing, amazing blade steel. It'll just keep going and going and going, cutting and cutting and cutting. Nothing will stop it. For the price point, it's not a cheap blade steel, but it's not like a really, really, really crazy blade steel or anything. But it's a damn good, expensive blade steel, and you get so much of it, 5.5 inches of it on this beast. So not only do you have an amazing blade steel, but you get a lot of it. So again, if you can find this guy for $150, look at a chunk of S35VN you're getting right there with the triad lock. One of the strongest locking mechanisms in the world with one of the best blade steels production companies use that is available to us in the world. That's an amazing deal right there. But regardless, even for the $200 price range, that's still really good. However, again, stepping down to this guy, saving the $70, AUS10A. Medium grade blade steel. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing cheap. It's not a really cheap blade steel, but it's not expensive either, by no means. But again, you get 5.5 inches worth of it. You still get that triad lock. You still get the same ergonomics pretty much. It's not beveled. It's just flat G10. And look at this guy right here. It kind of widens out a little bit, and then it's rounded on the edges. Take a look at the spines here. Again, quite different. I like the jimping job they have on the liners up here. It's completely useless, but it's there. It looks cool. You can see from the finishes they look quite different, even though overall the shape is the same. Let's get a good long look at both of these guys right here. A nice little comparison. And cutouts and choils are all pretty much the same. Again, you can swap the clip to the left side on this guy right here, just saying. So that's pretty much it. There's not really a whole lot else to say. It's going to come down to preference. I couldn't really decide. That's why over time I ended up just buying both when I found good deals on both of these guys. What does it come down to? Again, the blade steel difference really makes things interesting. Normally I'd just be like, this one's for use and function, this one's for form. But again, S35VN blade steel on this one, yikes. I'm having kind of a hard time determining which one's better for what, because you'd think this one would have the S35VN and that would have the AUS10A. If this is more for looks, you wouldn't really care what the blade steel is. So for function, you'd want the S35VN on this one, right? But hold on, maybe function is part of form. To make a knife more valuable or seem more valuable, you would give it a more expensive blade steel, which ups its value, which makes it a more valuable piece, which is what this is trying to be. It's trying to be a valuable folder. And the blade steel, of course, is going to kick the AUS10A's ass, but even if you don't use it, it makes the knife more valuable. It's kind of like a diamond versus a cubic zirconia. The diamond is worth a hell of a lot more, even though they look about the same, but its value is just way, way, way higher, even if you don't use the diamond. It may look almost exactly the same as a cubic zirconia. You kind of get what I'm saying there? It makes this knife more valuable, even though, aside from the blade steel, I find the overall handle materials and its overall construction to be less useful than the one with just the G10, the AUS10A blade steel. It's kind of tricky. Overall for use, I'm still going to say this guy wins because, again, it's a little bit lighter, and it's just grippier. It's more simple. I like the stonewash finish, although for function, it aids in rust resistance a little bit, but the S35VN blade steel is going to have better rust resistance than the AUS10A anyway. However, it's not going to be picking up all your scratches and smudges as easily as the satin or polish finish, whatever this is. It looks like there's two separate finish styles on here. And already, I barely use this thing. I carried it quite a bit over the years, but I didn't really cut that much of it. You can already see scratches appearing on here. I don't know where those came from. I don't know if that's just from opening and closing it and it rubbing. I don't know. But already, smudges and little scratches are already appearing on this thing because of the finish. This one absolutely wins in looks, that's for sure. Easy. So to sum up, for use overall, this one right here wins in price. You're going to save a good $70 with it. It's a little bit lighter, if you want your knife to be as light as possible. Pure G10, so it wins in grip. So as far as tactical use goes, this one wins. Again, if you're trying to wave it off your pocket or something, you don't want it slipping out of your hand as easily. This one wins for traction, weight, and price. Easily this guy right here. That's the winner. However, for looks and blade performance, this guy wins right here. Oh yeah, and then ambidextrousness, this guy also wins. So overall, who's the winner? For actual use, this one. If you're just getting the knife to use, it is better overall, aside from the S35VN blade steel. For cutting edge alone, for blade alone, this one absolutely blows this one out of the water. Easy. But for overall use, I think this one wins overall. Again, for a display item, this one easily is the more sexy one. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You know, occasionally some people might think this one's cooler looking. This straight up like the gray and the black. Some people just might find that cooler. Overall, I think this one's more gorgeous, but they're both beautiful knives in their own right. So that's pretty much it. It's kind of just up to preference. There is no winner. There's no this one's better than that one's better than this one. They're both just different. You know, again, it really throws me off knowing that the S35VN's on this one right here with the less useful handle because it's not as grippy, and the fact that it's not ambidextrous. That kind of makes it a little bit trickier, but overall, again, I think this one wins for overall use, but if you're just looking at the blade steel, then it's going to be this guy right here. And overall value, how expensive this one is and how much this one is worth, this one obviously wins too. But if you just want a functional good knife, want to save some money, just get this one. But They're both beautiful knives. You can't go wrong either way. You do get what you pay for, I think. They're just a little bit better and a little bit worse at different things. So there you have it. Those are both of the large Espadas. What do you think? Comment below. Which one do you think wins? Which one do you think is better?